All right. Well, top of the hour, as they say. Welcome, everyone. Happy almost Friday. Thank you so much for being with us here today. Team Valiantys here, coming at you to talk about Atlassian Intelligence. And with that, just wanted to just offer some introductions for who's going to be presenting today. I'll start with myself and then pitch it over to Joshua. My name is Sam Ayers. I'm an engagement director here at Valiantys. I wear a bunch of different hats, but one of the things that I have the pleasure of doing and the privilege of doing is providing free content to you guys. And so Atlassian Intelligence is a product that I'm excited about, passionate about, and use frequently. And I want to hopefully spread that contagion in a popular way or a positive way, rather, to folks and who might not know about it. So that's the intention of this webinar. I'll pitch it over to Joshua if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Joshua Dimitri. I'm a solution architect at Valiantys. I have a background in software development and kind of come into this conversation from the custom solutions side of the equation. And I spend most of my time, talking with our clients and designing solutions around customizations and apps and plugins and integrations to build into the Atlassian cloud platform. So I'm going to kind of fill in some of the details of how Atlassian Intelligence and a little bit about Rovo as well and how those things tie into custom solutions and just architecture and kind of how we use these across the enterprise.
Awesome. Thanks, Joshua. All right. So before we go any further, I just wanted to provide some information about Valiantys and just give you a sense of who we are and what we do. So we've been a partner with Atlassian for a long time now. We are a now global partner in the ecosystem, and ultimately, we're really proud of the fact that we're a 13-time Atlassian Partner of the Year award winner. And like I mentioned, we're a Platinum Solutions partner. I believe I mentioned that we're a Platinum Solutions partner with Atlassian, and essentially a Platinum Solutions partner as an organization has a deep understanding of Atlassian's products. Is compiled of a group of very talented people who've been in the ecosystem for a long time and have a wide-ranging skill set. But we also have a lot of experience, not only about the tools, but a lot of experience implementing and customizing the products for our clients. So that means we provide a series of services other than just being Atlassian experts. We have our consulting or delivery wing that specializes in the full Atlassian suite of tools, catering to organizations of all shapes and sizes. We offer training programs, including webinars like the one you're attending now. We have free content. We also offer Jira boot camps, or what we call Jira boot camps for Jira software, and a boot camp for Jira service management and Confluence. And then we also have our most recent boot camp is a Jira Line boot camp. And all of these are designed for Jira admins, folks that need to manage the tools but might still be new to them and need to get their feet wet with it. And then we also offer agile and safe training. So our training also supersedes or goes outside of the Atlassian ecosystem. And juxtaposed to our boot camps that are Jira admin focused, we have our Atlassian user academies, which are tailored for everyday users. And then kind of our special sauce that I like to refer to is we have a whole custom development wing of the business. So our in-house software developers create customized solutions spanning from app development to crafting unique user interfaces that may live on top of Atlassian products in an iframe or otherwise. So if the solution you need doesn't exist yet, the short version is we're able to help with whatever that is. You bring to us your vision for what you need, and we make it a reality. So with that, enough about us. Let's talk about what we plan to cover during the webinar today. We want to talk about what Atlassian Intelligence is, the pricing information, just so you're aware. And then we want to demo. We want to demo some of the Atlassian Intelligence features within Atlassian tools like Jira and Confluence specifically. And then we want to talk about what's coming soon, also some of the features that are existing presently today, just so you're aware on a high level and just so you can judge if any of them pique your interest. And then Joshua is going to spend some time talking about Atlassian Intelligence with custom solutions or in the custom solutions realm. And then just very briefly, we'll just make you aware of upcoming webinars and events, just so if something else, again, piques your interest like today's session did, you're just aware of what's coming down the pipeline. And then we try to leave a healthy amount of time, anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, maybe even more, just depending on when we wrap, for a Q&A session. So just a quick reminder, if you got any questions while I'm moving through the content, don't think that I'm ignoring you. Feel free to hit the Q&A button as I'm speaking. Put those questions in the chat, and we will tackle them as best as we can at the end of the session with the time allotted. So please feel free to ask the questions while they're fresh in your mind, and I assure you I'm not ignoring them. All right. So with that, for the webinar, and what we really want to get into is Atlassian Intelligence. And with any webinar that I'm involved in, I really try to answer two questions. What is it, and how does it ultimately work? And then we'll get into some of the minutia of other facets of the tool also, and other feature pieces. But on a high level, just to kind of intro Atlassian Intelligence, it helps teams accelerate their work, increase efficiency, and provide value faster using artificial intelligence, which I know is very broad, and I'm hoping to pare this down here. So for example, it allows you to generate and transform content, summarize critical details, find the work you need fast, and much, much more. So Atlassian Intelligence leverages artificial intelligence developed internally and from OpenAI. It uses what Atlassian refers to as the teamwork graph, which is unique to your team's project or service work, along with internal language models and OpenAI to deliver results specific to your organization's context. So you may be asking yourself, and again, my second question at the top is, how does it work? So Atlassian Intelligence combines state-of-the-art models developed by OpenAI with the power and data inside the Atlassian platform. So this means that Atlassian provides a native and artificial intelligence experience that is contextual to you, your teams, your workflows, all in a way that respects the privacy of your data, which is a perfect segue into the next topic that I wanted to talk to you about, which is Atlassian Intelligence and how it pertains, or how it associates to technology and data security. So as we know, AI is becoming more and more comfortable as each day passes, but there may still be some trepidation and adoption for organizations, and rightfully so. And we want to address one of the more prevalent questions that comes up with this tool, and that is, how is the data I put into the tool being handled? I feel like that's the question that we get asked, that Atlassian gets asked, and so we really want to unpack this a little bit, or take some time to do so. So full stop, Atlassian Intelligence is opt-in only at the org admin level. So if you're not familiar with Atlassian permissions hierarchy, the org admin is basically the top dog, somebody who has all the keys to the kingdom. And so an org admin must intentionally switch Atlassian Intelligence features on within the org admin or the admin menu of Jira. And it's also, you can switch it on tool by tool. That's also important to note. So for example, if you want to adopt Atlassian Intelligence and use the features therein for just Jira software, that's great. And you don't want necessarily Atlassian Intelligence to be used in Confluence. You do get the option to toggle specifically on a tool by tool or app by app basis. Inputs aren't stored. So none of the inputs or outputs from AI are stored or used by Atlassian or their partners to train their models. Inputs and outputs in this case, and maybe obviously in this case, refer to the data users put into Atlassian products, which are in turn analyzed by Atlassian Intelligence. So can't stress that enough. None of the inputs or outputs are stored or used by Atlassian or their partners to train models. Respects permission and data residency. So Atlassian Intelligence respects both. For example, Atlassian Intelligence is going to respect whether you have access to the Jira issues you're searching for. Let's say you're using AI and you're using it to search for specific Jira issues with specific criteria, it's going to defer to the permissions that are already set up within your Jira instance. All the data is processed and transmitted in accordance with Atlassian's privacy policy, data processing addendum, and GDPR commitment. So something to note there as well. I will say, unfortunately, it's not HIPAA compliant at this time. However, I'm excited to say or mention that SOC 2 and ISO are supported at this point. Atlassian Intelligence and Rovo have completed the external assessment and compliance certification for both. So really exciting. That's something that we actually saw happen at the end of the year last year. When we did this webinar a month ago, or a little over a month ago in December, this was not the case yet. So hot off the press information there for you. And then last but certainly not least, it leverages open AI. So Atlassian Intelligence does currently leverage large language models from OpenAI. Each data request is sent to OpenAI individually over an SSL encrypted service to process and send back to Atlassian. So I really appreciate, honestly, just as a side note, how transparent Atlassian has been on the tech and data security front, and hopefully you're getting a glimpse into that transparency that they've offered us as well as a partner. All right, moving on, just very briefly, wanted to mention a couple things on the pricing and licensing tier front. Atlassian Intelligence is a cloud-only feature, so just keep that in mind. You're not currently having all these or everything that I'm about to show you in the demonstrations available to you in Data Center. And it's only available, and you can see this by our green check marks here, at the premium and enterprise license tiers. So also something to be aware of. If you're on standard, you would have to make the jump to premium to leverage these features. And then currently there are no data limits on usage, but we do expect that to change in the future. So just something also to be aware of. All right. Enough talking at you here. Hopefully that was helpful information, but now I want to spend some time taking you through some demonstrations of just kind of the high level features, just to kind of pique your interest, maybe hopefully encourage you to kind of get your feet wet in a similar manner. If you are a premium license user of Atlassian products, whether that's Jira, Confluence, et cetera, and want to just kind of get acquainted with the tool, hopefully these demonstrations that I show you will just kind of whet your appetite, so to speak. So just as a brief introduction, I've created two things here for the demonstration today. I have a Jira work management project where I have a fictional marketing team that is conducting a campaign for Atlassian Intelligence. And so I've created some dummy issues that hopefully would characterize that mission and that the team is carrying out. And I also have an adjoining AI marketing Confluence space with just some templatized data in here that we can kind of manipulate and play around with during our demonstration today. So we'll be operating in both Jira, specifically a Jira work management project, and then also Confluence today. So as I kind of alluded to earlier, kind of some of the big categories of what Atlassian Intelligence can do on a very high level. One of the main things it lets you do is generate and transform content. So you can create content based on a prompt, you can rephrase content, you can restructure it. So let's look at an example of each of those today. So I'm just going to open an issue within this project, and let's take a look specifically at the issue description here. So we have our issue summary, short and sweet, that's fine. And our description is there. And maybe, I'm reading this and it's just maybe too brief. Maybe I need more detail to make this particular marketing asset or task actionable. So with that, let's go ahead and flesh out this issue a little bit more using AI. So if I click into the description and then simply highlight the text, and then I click the AI button here to the right, denoted by kind of this kind of sunburst icon here that you're starting to probably see with Atlassian Intelligence branding ubiquitously without the tool, and hopefully you'll see that as a theme as we're going through this here. Let's just give a variable. So you've got a bunch of options here just very quickly. to just by default improve the description, summarize, improve writing, fix grammar, make shorter, change tone to, and then you're presented with more options, or translate to, and you're presented with more options. But I want to give it a variable request here. So let's say add some ideas for how to approach leveraging or let's say leveraging social media for a marketing campaign, and hit enter. And then in a matter of seconds, you have a really, really helpful outline here, step by step, with some ideas where you could jump into and really dig your heels into what this would actually look like in practicality. And what's really nice too, and I'll kind of jump back to this throughout the demonstrations today, is, AI sometimes gets you 90% there. And then maybe, you don't need targeted ads and you kill number 5, or you kill number 7. You don't need hashtag campaigns. So it's really important to note that a lot of times it'll get you 90% there, and you can kind of tweak and make changes and then commit those changes. And so this is where I have an option to either replace the existing text or insert below. So in this case, I'll just go ahead and insert it below. And then from there, I can click save here at the bottom to commit that change to the description. And in a matter of seconds, I have a much more robust description for my task, helping my team know exactly what I'm looking for. Let's talk about rephrasing content. There are many ways we can approach this. So I could actually go into this description and rephrase it. Or let's say I've got a snarky comment within an issue that I want to edit. So I can edit this comment. Hello, is anyone there? It sounds really hopeless and sad. So I'll go to my writing assistant and maybe change the tone to be more empathetic or neutral. Let's try empathetic. I usually like to read those. I find them kind of funny. So, hello, I hope you're doing well. If you're there, I'm here to listen and support you. Much nicer and much more cordial. So I can click save. So it's really as easy as that. Or if I were to go up to my issue description, you could do the exact same thing. Highlight the text, hit the AI button, and then rephrase as needed and change the tone, whatever we would like to do from there. Really, really easy, really fast and easy and intuitive to use. Let's talk about restructuring content. This is some cool stuff. So if I go to my AI, or I'm sorry, my issue description here, where we're talking about a marketing campaign, let me highlight this numbered list and let's see if it'll do what I want it to do here. And let's say, let's restructure this. So let's go to our writing assistant and let's see if it does this. Restructure the list alphabetically based on the first character in each line, just for grins, and see what it does. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that looks to be right. So you can see really quickly, if I wanted to reorganize this, I could also discard this, and I could say maybe even this section here. Restructure as a bulleted list. And so you get the point. And you could do that relatively quickly with formatting options up here. I fully acknowledge that, but just showing you some options, and really the sky's the limit on how you want to handle the data within your issues or Confluence pages, et cetera, which we'll get to in a moment. But in conclusion, the idea here is that we have a much more operable task for our team. It's much more detailed and ultimately more detailed than what we started with. And it was all done in a matter of seconds, leveraging the power of Atlassian Intelligence ability to create, rephrase, and structure content. So real quickly, I want to show you a really cool feature that I really like as a Jira admin myself. And that is the ability to create automation rules with AI. And so I could see a world where this really helps out Jira admins create complex rules that require a lot of branching and a lot of logic that we can all figure out, but it just takes time. And so what I really like is that AI seems to do this very well within Jira products, specifically automation rules within Jira projects. So let's create a rule that maybe a PM might use. And let's say when all subtasks are completed, add a comment to the parent letting the assignee know, and just see what it does. And I can hit enter and it'll start thinking and then produce ultimately exactly the rule that I had asked for it to produce. We've got our issue trigger, or I'm sorry, we've got our automation trigger, we've got our branch for parent. If subtasks match status equals done, then add a comment. Matter of seconds. A little bit more complicated. Let's do this. And I'll just copy and paste this in here as well, just to save some time, and then talk about the description here. So in our marketing campaign example, more specific to our project over here that we're in right now, when an issue type of marketing asset is created and social media is in the issue summary, add the social media label and create a subtask under the same issue with target influencers in the issue summary. So we're asking it to do an awful lot. Let's see how it handles it. We may have overloaded it here. Let me take off maybe just this piece. There we go. So when we run, we have our issue trigger, or we have our automation trigger. Our marketing issue type equals marketing asset, which is congruent with how I configured this project. Summary contains social media, edit the fields, labels. So it's adding our social media label. And the only thing it failed at was actually populating the summary with what we wanted in the subtask, which actually I took that piece out of the rule. But the idea, again, harkening back to what I said earlier, thematically within AI, a lot of times we're not trying to get it to do everything. We're trying to get it to a point where it's doing 80 to 90% of the work for us, and then we can kind of fine tune on the side. It's a pretty cool feature, honestly, within Jira. And then in conclusion, I just want to show you some of the issue search capability that's pretty powerful within Jira, specifically using AI. So AI allows you, or Atlassian Intelligence in this case, allows you to search for issues very quickly without having to navigate through the native drop-down menus that we've seen in Jira for a long time, or having to know JQL, or Jira query language, in other words. So let's give it something to work with here. So I click the AI button, and now I can type in essentially whatever I want. So we'll say search for all issues assigned to me, and that also have the word webinar in the summary, and hit enter. And perfect. So it pulled a succinct list of issues that all have webinar in the summary, like what I described here. Something that really bent my brain for a while when I was learning Jira and kind of becoming a Jira admin were the date queries. And JQL specifically get really confusing, especially with the operators and different things that you need to use in order for the query to work. And so what I really like is that AI makes quick work of date queries. And one thing quickly to note as well, what I really like, you can almost use AI as a learning tool if you're getting into using or learning JQL, because it gives you the JQL query at the bottom that you would use. So this is super helpful if you needed to pump or use this Jira query in an automation rule or in script runner or something along the lines down the road. It's a really great way to get ultimately succinctly the query that you need from a JQL perspective. So let's try the time-based one. Let's say all issues assigned to me and were created last month. Processing. And again, a matter of seconds, we have a refresh page with a whole list of issues amidst hundreds, if not thousands of issues at this point in my instance. And this is the stuff that I'm talking about. And JQL, I can't remember if it's -1 and then greater than or less than and start of month. It gets really confusing. And so what's really nice is it gets you the home list, specifically when date and time queries are really difficult to kind of navigate anyway. All right. So with that, let's talk about Confluence for a few minutes and just some of the similar features therein. So like what we saw in Jira, AI in Confluence or Atlassian Intelligence in Confluence allows you to generate and transform content exactly the same way via prompt, rephrasing content, restructuring. So I want to show you very similarly those features within Confluence. So we are in our marketing Confluence space that I kind of introed earlier. And while this is a marketing space, let's just pretend for a moment, for all intents and purposes, that we're a development team that's about to jump into Agile Scrum ceremonies. And as a Scrum Master, it might be helpful to have an outline for the ceremonies. So I want to show you really quickly how you can create a helpful page. And just so you know, if you're not super familiar with Confluence, you can create using the blue button up here, or you can create within the page tree down here as well. But I'll go into create at the top and click the page. And we have just a blank page that materializes down here in the page hierarchy that we can move up and down as needed later on. We've got a blank page. And from within, I can click our writing assistant or AI writing assistant. And I simply just have to write, hopefully it works here, an outline for Scrum ceremonies and then enter. AI is working, and then in a matter of seconds, we have a full outline, again, that we could take away, edit, refine for our purposes and context, but we have a starting point very, very quickly. I can click Insert, and then up here at the top, give it a title, publish, and I'm ready to go. Page is created. I can manipulate it in the page tree as needed and create additional pages under it if need be. So very, very quickly, I've created content and meaningful and useful content as well. Let's go back to this space's purpose. We're a marketing team. We need to develop a grassroots marketing campaign. Let's create an additional page. This time we'll create it in the page tree just to show you that example. Same story. I can click my writing assistant. Once I click out of the title, it becomes available to me. And from here, this is where I can type in, provide steps to develop a grassroots marketing campaign and enter. Same story, list that I can operate with, refine, edit as needed, insert, and up here at the top, add a title and a G, and then publish. Rephrasing content. So let me go to another page up here. And I know for a fact on this page, there's some doom and gloom. There's a box here that's curt and straightforward, and maybe that's the communication style that we like and are accustomed to with our organization. But we've got a note here about our company losing customers for the past 3 years. While this is helpful, maybe when we want to change the tone of this. So I can highlight the text, hit Atlassian Intelligence here, and I can change the tone to be more casual. For example, I've shown you empathetic. Let's see what casual does. Yeah. So we can rephrase or restructure this content really, really quickly, change the voice, for example. All right. And then in the realm of restructuring content, this is the stuff that I get really excited about when I'm using the tools on a daily basis. So I've got some meeting notes down here. And a lot of times you guys know how it is. If you're leading a project, you're typing meeting notes and trying to lead the meeting at the same time, it can be really difficult. And a lot of times you end up with some digital chicken scratch, not unlike what you're looking at right here. And so maybe I don't have time to clean these up, and maybe I need to jump right to getting action items out of this mess of the notes. And so if I go to edit, I can highlight all that you see here and click my AI button. And down here, this is one I really like as somebody who's managing projects as a working consultant. I can use the find action items feature with Atlassian Intelligence. And then Atlassian Intelligence takes a whack at pulling out some action items. And so again, this is where I can edit or chop some of these out if they don't make sense, but it assesses the data that's above and says, okay, this seems like an action item. And let's say I'm happy with all of these, or I can make changes. That's an important thing to note as well. I can get rid of some of these before I publish them, either insert at the top or insert below. But in this case, let's say I'm happy with them. I've got action items here ready to go, where I can add owners, etc. But it goes through and does that for you. It's really, really neat. I also want to show you too, remember our Scrum ceremonies page. So, well, maybe I need a summary or an explanation of what's going to be happening in paragraph form as a precursor to our, and actually let me close this page too, I'll update it. But maybe I need a summary of what's going on, or maybe the Scrum ceremonies outline is just too busy. I can go in here and edit, and then I can select all this text here. And then again, click my AI button, and then I can summarize the writing and maybe make it a little bit more succinct. Or if I need to share with an executive more of a succinct description of what I'm trying to accomplish, this might be a way to do it as well. So I'll discard this, click update. And then also too, maybe you're not trying to hone text and edit it. Maybe you just want a summary of already existing text. You've got this button here at the bottom that you can click. If I click summarize, it gives you a more succinct rendition or outline of what's here that you can just kind of leaf through and get a high level understanding of what's there. Some exciting stuff. Really just helps you with the day-to-day, not dissimilar to a ChatGPT or other AI engines that are available to you right now. All right, so with that, let's go back to our slideshow here. And I just want to make you aware, we won't go through necessarily all of these just for the sake of time, but I just want to briefly discuss that some of the features that are available today, and then also just make you aware of some features that are coming down the pipeline. I will say I do really want to highlight that this changes on a month-to-month basis. This list is vastly different than what we saw even last month in December when we did this webinar. And so just be aware that specifically Atlassian Intelligence is somewhere where Atlassian's spending a bunch of time in development and really, really ramping up some of these features that we've been seeing. And some of the ones that I even showed you today weren't even necessarily available when I first started doing this webinar. So it's really exciting. There's a lot of things happening in this space. So I encourage you to stay on top of that, whether it's through this webinar or through your own, by your own initiative, keeping up with Atlassian documentation in this space. But that being stated, this is what's available today on the right in the realm of Jira. We can create automation rules like what we saw today using language or natural language. We can summarize comments. We saw that today as well. Reformatting descriptions, saw that as well. Defining words and acronyms, really helpful. That's in beta. Referencing Jira tasks and prompts. So, and the list goes on. And then some exciting stuff that's coming down the pipeline. Find and surface key information from Confluence within the work item. Really interesting. We'll love to see that in practice. And then also converting text from a Slack conversation into a Jira task. So again, really Atlassian leaning into Slack integration that's really prevalent or prominent in kind of the JSM realm. Really cool to see where that goes. And then the Confluence list just keeps getting longer and longer of what's available today. Really exciting. Brainstorming ideas in a whiteboard. That one's fascinating to me. I've not messed with that yet. I'd love to dig into that. Summarizing pages, page comments, and blogs that we showed that as well today. Creating automation rules in Confluence. So that's something we didn't cover today, but something that might pique your interest as well. If you're really delving into the world of automation rules within Confluence, something to be aware of. So a lot here to kind of digest and talk about. And then coming down the pipeline, generating suggestions for improved readability. Cool stuff. All right. Well, with that, I want to hand it over to Joshua, who is going to dive into some of the AI features within Jira Service Management. So, Joshua, take it away.
All right. So the first thing I wanted to talk about here is Sam was saying is Jira Service Management. I want to kind of give you a little bit of information about kind of a tangential feature to a lot of the ones that Sam was showing that exists in JSM, which is virtual agents. So one of the things that we really are looking for AI to accomplish for us in our organization is to reduce the load on our staff, right? So especially support staff, where we get a lot of requests in a JSM portal, and maybe we want to have those very simple tasks be handled by AI so that we can, move more quickly and have less load on our staff, or even just to categorize them with AI so that it's easier for our staff to tackle them more quickly. So virtual agents help with doing that. I'm not going to dive too deep into them. I just wanted to make you aware of this feature because it is kind of in the same area of work as AI. And virtual agent essentially allows you to set up a system where when an external user on a JSM portal submits a request, the AI is going to look at it and determine basically with a certain level of confidence how well it can match the intent of that request to certain categories that you can define. So essentially, as you can see, like in this diagram here, customer makes a request, you match that intent to different types of ways of handling that request. And then from there, you can either have a human action on it, or you can use some custom tooling or AI to continue actioning on that. So like I said, we can get more in depth with this with some other future content, or if you have more questions about this, reach out to us afterwards. But I just want to make you aware of this feature set. And that's going to take us into kind of talking about our next set of topics, which is going to be started off by this statement of beyond work management. The main reason why I am making this statement here is to say that AI is something that is obviously a buzzword in just the industry as a whole. It goes beyond just Jira, just in using Jira for work management or service management or even knowledge management. AI is kind of seeping into every part of our business. It is seeping into the entire industry's business, and this is something that we need to be looking at from a broader scale. So, coming into it for myself from a background of software development and solutions development, I'm looking at AI and how it fits into the greater scope of what we're trying to do as an organization and implementing that into our space. So one of the things you're going to notice is that every organization, as I'm sure you've had happen already, is going to have initiatives to implement AI across the org. And how can Atlassian Intelligence help us get there without having to, spend 2 years developing our own version of ChatGPT? So I'm going to show a couple diagrams here and kind of walk through both what I'm calling the old way and with Atlassian Intelligence, what that looks like. Starting on the left with the old way here, this is essentially what it would look like from an architectural diagram standpoint for us as an organization to implement AI with the same type of feature set that you're seeing in Atlassian Intelligence, but really also additional features and the AI that we're being asked for by the industry as a whole to implement into our entire process. On the left, I have everything in blue, basically being all of our Atlassian products and features. On the right, everything in green is anything that's non-Atlassian and kind of non-AI, just our custom development, our other SaaS products. Maybe you have some sort of data lake that you have internally. Essentially, any organization of a significant size is going to have some tools that are outside of the Atlassian space. In the middle, in this gray section, this is where we've got everything we had to build in order to get AI integrated into our organization. You'll notice that we have to build a custom data store. Essentially, we have to find some way to compile all of the data together. We have to keep all of that in the same place. Then we have to build an application on top of that to actually ask it questions, or all the things that Sam walked through essentially in Jira or in Confluence or in any Atlassian tool where you have Atlassian Intelligence, you can hit a button and you can get help with your content. You can rephrase and restructure. We're going to have to build some sort of application to do that for us as well. And then we have to actually do the prompting and the processing. And this is maybe going to be OpenAI that can handle that, or something else maybe, or an internal LLM that we develop. Lots of different options there. But essentially what we're seeing is this could potentially become 3 different teams in a very large scale effort to build this in our organization. This is very heavy. And even at the end of this, it doesn't have direct integration between our tools and the actual AI tooling. Because now we can't just go into Jira and go into Confluence and use artificial intelligence. We have to go to a separate location, have this built inside of our organization. And this is going to cause a lot of problems for us in the long term. Also, because of the fact that now we have to handle security on our own. We have to have our own agreements with maybe OpenAI if we're going to use their models, whereas Atlassian's kind of already handled that for us, which takes us into the right side. And this is the diagram that is, aligned with everything that Sam was showing, right? Rather than this whole gray box needing to exist, we use Atlassian Intelligence, and Atlassian Intelligence gets us very integrated, very accessible AI insights and AI help and AI tools in our products in Atlassian without having to spin up any of this on our own that we have in the gray box. But what that leads us to is, what about that external data? Because we're going to be asked by our organization and by the industry and by our users and customers to have AI tooling in the entire organization, not just in the Atlassian tools. So can Atlassian Intelligence still help us get to these external tools and actually have AI tooling and the benefit of AI beyond just our Atlassian suite of products? And the answer is yes. And I'm going to go to another diagram here and show you how we accomplish that. And it's going to be with something called Forge. So I'm not going to dig too deep into all the details of Forge, but what I want to kind of outline here is that Forge is the development platform for Atlassian Cloud. So if you're going to be building custom software, if you're developing marketplace add-ons, if you're developing internal plugins, building tooling, you're going to be using Forge to do that. And Forge is going to be that developer platform for Atlassian Cloud products. But in the context of Atlassian Intelligence, what Forge allows us to do is it gives us the tools and the platform that we need to integrate the external sources and custom apps and everything outside of our Atlassian products into our Atlassian Cloud platform and into the architecture of our Atlassian tooling. So what you'll notice here is we have Atlassian Intelligence. We also are including now Atlassian Analytics in the equation because we can use that to gain analytics on top of this data as well. And we're going to be able to bring in all of the data through Forge from these external sources. So what we're going to be able to do then is, let's say we represent that information, we represent the data from an external application in our Jira projects or in a Confluence document or a Confluence space. Or we bring in the data in a way that it goes up into a project in JSM assets where we're able to kind of keep all of that information in a single location. Well, now we have Atlassian Intelligence, and Atlassian Intelligence can operate on that data and allow us to search and query and create content based off of that information as well. So essentially, the Atlassian Cloud Platform becomes the way that we can get AI and get the tooling around AI for all of our data, not just the Atlassian data. So what this is going to look like over time is that your organization will get more and more AI tooling, more and more ability to use that AI tooling, more accessible AI tooling, without having to build that on your own, and without having to have every product's version of AI tooling that you're paying for. You can just use Atlassian Intelligence to get a lot of that out of the box, and then using Forge to bring in those external sources. Now, what this also leads us to is the conversation around Rovo. Rovo is another AI tool that is built by Atlassian, and you may have kind of heard the name Rovo out there. I'm going to talk about Rovo in one of the slides that I'm going to bring up here in a second. Rovo is going to be the next step to creating this environment, right? Where we're going to have all of our external data, all of our external sources, all of these tools, bringing those into our Atlassian Cloud platform to get AI tooling on top of all of that is going to be enhanced even further with Rovo, and I'll talk about that a little bit here in a second. What I want to show first is really just an example, because this is very theoretical from what we've been talking about so far, but where is an example of how we've actually done this? And the example I show here is Fleet Manager. We built this for a major auto manufacturer that wanted to manage all of the fleet of their vehicles for different places that they were reserving vehicles for testing. or for demos or whatever it might be, right? So in this case, we actually have a UFO version of this that we use for demos, but the concept is here that we have an application built using Forge, so it's using the Atlassian cloud development platform, and that solution is basically set as a full-on application with a front end, with a back end that you can basically talk to. You can look at all the vehicles, you can look at all the UFOs in this case, you can reserve one, and all of those reservations are being stored as requests in a JSM portal, and all the different vehicles are being stored as assets in JSM assets. So essentially what we've done is we built the front end of our application using Forge, and we built the back end using just JSM and JSM assets. So we've basically been able to use the Atlassian suite of products and cloud as the back end for our application here, where we can then use the Atlassian cloud platform and Forge to build the front end. What that means is that all of our data is now within the Atlassian cloud platform, and that means that Atlassian Intelligence has access to it. So now I can go in and I can use AI to search my reservations. I can use AI to summarize what reservations have been made. I can use AI to automate the interactions, especially as we start talking about Rovo. We can tie this into automations and be able to take action on that. There are going to be a lot of things that we can get out of this, because now I've built my custom applications, my custom developed tooling in a way that integrates with my Atlassian cloud platform and gets Atlassian Intelligence to have access to it, be able to use it, gets that value for all of my data. So that brings us to that conversation about Rovo that I was talking about, which is how do we take this? How do we take the ability to use Forge to bring in external data and extend that to where not only are we just creating content or restructuring content or rephrasing like Sam was showing, but actually taking action on that content, on that data, on the things that are happening in our instance. And Rovo is going to help solve that. So there are three main parts of Rovo, and I'm going to get I'm kind of going to touch to the surface level of them because there's a lot to talk about with Rovo. There are some webinars that we do around Rovo. You can find the recordings of those on our YouTube page. Along with, there will be a workshop that I'm doing next week, actually, to kind of get hands-on a bit with Rovo. So that's another thing to look out for. But kind of a brief introduction to Rovo is that there are three main categories of Rovo. It's going to be search, chat, and agents. So search is going to be a way to search for the information across the entire instance. So search actually lets you, from a single search bar, find information in Jira, Confluence, JSM, basically all the Atlassian products. But you can also set up external connections for things like Google Drive and Slack and SharePoint. So all the other tools in your organization that aren't Atlassian tools can be hooked into Rovo, and you can search across all of them with a single search bar. That takes you into Rovo Chat, where Rovo Chat is essentially the ChatGPT-like interface, but it's integrated directly with your data. So you can search across all of those tools, but you can also ask chat questions about your data, ask it to find certain information and create inferences based off that information. You can generate content like we saw with what Sam was showing with Atlassian Intelligence. And you can do that with your Atlassian data along with all of your external data as well. We've also got then is agents, and especially custom agents. So agents are how we're going to actually start to take action on that data. Rovo agents essentially are designed to act as a teammate on your projects. So you're going to see AI as a teammate as a pretty big concept within Atlassian marketing around Rovo, and that's because agents allow us to build a particular entity that we can either chat with or we can use automations. Or we can build into our Forge applications. That's that developer platform. It also integrates with these agents, where let's say I want to set up a system where I can ask this agent what our HR policies are. It has access to the knowledge base in Confluence of all of our HR policies, but it can also have the ability to actually, let's say, create vacation requests. I can just ask that agent to create a vacation request. It'll know how to do that correctly based off of the context of the HR policies it has access to in Confluence. So that's going to be a huge topic. If you want to get more in depth with agents and see all the things that it can do, we can even go further and integrate it with Forge, where we can essentially tie it into anything that we can write the code to do. And so if you have a software development team already, especially, you can use custom agents to just integrate AI to all of those applications and tooling. And it's a really cool tool, really cool process that we can use to bring AI into our organization. Look at the resources that the links are being sent for in the chat of previous webinars that I've done and that workshop that's coming up, and more content to come from us in the future. We've also got a Rovo Jumpstart offering that if you want to reach out to me about as well, we can kind of spend some time with your teams directly and just show you how it can add some value to your organization. But that's kind of the brief introduction to Rovo and what Rovo is going to do for you. And we can get more in depth in those other pieces of content. So that really shows the full picture, right? We started from Sam walking through Atlassian Intelligence, walking through all of the features that we're here to talk about in Atlassian Intelligence that are super easy to use out of the box, included with an enterprise license. And we're going to be able to see that be something that is very powerful across the board. Then we go from there all the way to this final picture of our entire organization being combined into a single kind of working space with AI tooling, where the Atlassian Cloud Platform becomes the connector for everything in the organization, and AI tooling is baked into that system with Rovo and with Atlassian Intelligence. And that's going to take us to this one last screen I want to show about Rovo, which is that Rovo is not only going to allow us to chat with it like ChatGPT, but it also allows us to do things with automations. So something that you're going to see with Rovo, and you'll see that through the other pieces of content that are out there, is essentially we're going to take things that are tedious, take all the things that we have to do quite often that might be slow or more manual. And Rovo is able to handle all of those things automatically without much human interaction. It's very low touch once you set it up, and it's very powerful in that sense. Automations using Rovo agents is my absolute favorite feature that I've seen from anything Atlassian in the past years, and it's really cool to talk about. So please reach out. Let's talk about it further. That workshop coming up is a great way to see how to interact with that as well. And that's going to take us to the end of our content. I'll pass it back to Sam so we can close us out. And hopefully you got something out of that conversation from the Rovo perspective, along with just Atlassian Intelligence with custom solutions.
That's awesome. Thank you, Joshua. Appreciate it. Well, yeah, just to bring us home here, can't stress this enough. If you guys have any questions that we're not able to get to during the Q&A session, or questions that just come to mind later as you're kind of mulling this over at the end of the week here, please don't hesitate to reach out to Joshua or myself via email, or connect with us directly on LinkedIn. Please don't hesitate. The QR codes are on the screen. Feel free to scan away, and would love to connect with you guys and network. Just wanted to mention as well, we've got several different events coming up, several different boot camps, like I mentioned on the front end of the meeting. We have another, we've got an Angular boot camp coming up, an introduction to Jira Align. And then again, several different free webinar availability for you guys. So just to note, by the buy tickets or the sign up, anything that essentially is sign up, I believe is free. So feel free to take advantage of what's out here if any of these topics pique your interest. I also highly encourage you guys to connect with us on YouTube, and also on our website as well, where you can find more information about our training. But on YouTube, this session that we are having today will also be recorded, just as a reminder as well, or is being recorded, and will be uploaded to YouTube for consumption at a later time. So if you weren't able to join us for the whole meeting, feel free to interact with this content on YouTube. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and jump over to our Q&A session here. Looks like we've got several different questions. Are there any plans to have it be HIPAA compliant? Great question, John. I've heard whisperings here and there. Joshua, I don't know if you've heard anything more than what I've heard, other than I think it's coming down the pipeline. But
yeah, they're definitely planning on like looking into that and bringing HIPAA compliance. There's a bit more challenges around HIPAA compliant in particular, and part of the reason why we got SOC 2 and ISO is because the tools they use to build it actually just already were compliant, and it just took some time for it to fit into the regular cycle. It's a bit of a different scenario with HIPAA, so they should be working on it, but we don't really have any particular timeline on when it might come.
Yeah. Wonderful. And is this GCCH rated? I don't know that off the top of my head, but I'm more than happy to follow up with you, unless Joshua, you have an answer.
Yeah, I don't believe that it is. That's going to get more into kind of like certifications for high security applications. I wouldn't expect that it is currently rated for that. One thing that you can reach out to us about is we actually have a whole, department and kind of section of our business called Valiantys Federal that deals with Atlassian implementation for specifically for federal government type of applications that are high security, but it really is for anything that's just high security to that degree. We can kind of help with that side of things. So maybe reach out if you have specific questions about that, and we can talk about solutions we might be able to come up with to get things more compliant.
Wonderful. And then we've got a question. What LLM is this back-ended with when asking questions?
Yeah, that's another one I can answer there. So we don't have a very specific idea of exactly which OpenAI LLMs are being used. What we do know about the system is that it utilizes some internal models along with OpenAI's models. And the way that it tends to work with OpenAI is it actually only sends it the individual messages as it is querying. So OpenAI doesn't even necessarily have a history of the chat that you're having with a Rovo or with Atlassian Intelligence. It's basically sending one-off requests to OpenAI to fill in the gaps and get a lot of the powerful responses that we can get from those OpenAI models, while the internal models help to keep track of the conversations a bit more if you're using Rovo and keep track of the back and forth you might have in Atlassian Intelligence. So we don't have a clear answer on exactly which models, but that's the general structure of how the conversation's happening.
Thanks, Joshua. And this was earlier on in our presentation. Would love to see it refine a description to meet the invest criteria. I believe that's probably when I was demoing refining descriptions of JIRA issues, I believe, but would like to understand a little bit more the question there. And so feel free to reach out to us, and I would love to connect with you and then even potentially try to demonstrate what you're looking for and send you a Loom video or a short video that could maybe address what you were looking for in that feature set. And then last but not least, would love to see it write Gherkin. Interesting. Is that a programming language that I'm not familiar with, Joshua?
Yeah, it's going to be a style of writing requirements. So it's another thing similar to the previous question. Reach out to us if you have specific requests of maybe a quick Loom video of, we can send you a video of it writing certain types of content, that kind of thing, and we can get back to you with that.
Awesome. All right, folks. Well, that is all of our questions. Rapidly approaching the top of the hour here. So we will go ahead and wrap for the day. From the whole team here at Valiantys, we want to sincerely thank you for your attention during this time. Again, please reach out to us on LinkedIn or via email. We'd love to get in touch with you, answer any questions that you may have that come up in your mind after the webinar concludes. And we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and a wonderful weekend. Thanks again, guys.